Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am gonna be sharing with you how to start studying in just 5 minutes even when you do and want to. We all have been in that situation before where you're kind of tired of studying. Maybe you've been at your desk for hours already, and the thought of sitting down and starting to study seems so daunting. So in this video, I am gonna be sharing with you my secrets on how to start studying very quickly, even when you're not feeling it. Let's get started. Tip No. 1 is to first start with a timer. I always tell my students to use a timer when they are trying to focus on something difficult or start studying because it has an effective technique called the countdown method. The countdown method is based off of the fact that when we are planning to do something in the near future, we tend to procrastinate more. However, when we set a deadline or we set a time limit, it increases our sense of urgency, which decreases procrastination. So the next time you sit down to study, try setting a timer for 5 minutes and see how much work you can actually accomplish in just that short amount of time. Chances are you'll probably be able to do more than you think you can. I usually tell my students to set their timer to 25 minutes, but since we're trying to start studying right now, we're only going to start with 5 minutes. Tip No. 2 is to just sit down and open up your laptop. If you tell yourself that you're only going to study for 5 minutes, it removes the pressure of having to study for a longer period of time. A lot of times the hardest part about studying is getting started. So just tell yourself you're only gonna sit down for 5 minutes and open up your laptop. You don't even have to turn it on, just open it. Once you get the momentum going and you start studying, chances are you lines continue studying because you lines feel guilty if you stop after just 5 minutes, or you lines continue studying because you're actually enjoying it and you do and want to stop. I'm telling you guys, this trick works wonders. Tip No. 3 is to find your why. I remember struggling a lot in college. I remember spending hours and hours and hours at the library, but never actually accomplishing anything. And I would get so frustrated because I felt like I wasted so much time, but I wasn't actually learning anything. So one day I decided to sit down and really think about why I was doing what I was doing. I knew that I wanted to become a doctor, but every time I sat down to study, I was thinking about why I wanted to become a doctor. I was thinking about all the reasons behind why I wanted to become a doctor. And once I figured out my why, every time I sat down to study, I would say that to myself. I would say, hey, you want to become a doctor. You want to help people who are sick, and every time I would start studying, I would say it out loud. And that really helped me find the motivation I needed to push through those tough study sessions. So the next time you're trying to start studying, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why do I want to learn this material? And then write down your answer. Then every time you start studying, read that answer out loud to yourself. It will help you get into the mindset of studying. Tip number 4 is to find your flow. There's this idea in psychology called flow, which describes a state of complete and utter concentration. And this happens when we are completely absorbed and immersed in what we are doing. For example, when I am filming my videos, I am completely in a state of flow. I am completely focused and immersed in what I am doing. When you are in a state of flow, you lose track of time. You forget about everything else going on around you. All you are focused on is the task at hand. Everyone has different things that they do that allow them to get into a state of flow. For some people, it may be playing an instrument. For other people, it might be painting or drawing. For other people, it might be writing. For me personally, what I do to get myself into a state of flow is I put on a playlist that I only listen to when I am studying. It helps me get into the mindset of studying. So whatever you do, figure out what you can do to get yourself into a state of flow. Maybe it's putting on a certain song, or maybe it's lighting a candle. Whatever it is, make sure you do it before you start studying, because it will allow you to get into that mindset, and it will help you get into that state of flow. Tip No. 5 is to stop thinking about how much work you have to do. Thinking about all the work you have to do will only overwhelm you and make you feel like you can't do it. Instead, tell yourself, you know what, I can do this. I can get this done really quickly. The next time you're about to sit down to study and you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say that to yourself. I can do this. I can get this done really quickly. Do this for a few minutes and then slowly start opening your eyes and tell yourself, okay, let's get started. Let's start studying. Tip No. 6 is to go to a quiet place to study. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to find a quiet place to study. You need to find a place where you can concentrate without any distractions. This may mean going to the library, or it may mean going to a coffee shop, or maybe it may mean going to a certain room in your house. Whatever it is, make sure that you find a quiet place to study because you need to minimize distractions. 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 I repeat, minimize distractions. Tip number 7 is to understand the material. Oftentimes, I see students trying to study something that they don't really understand. For example, I remember in college I took a class called Physics 1. It was such a hard class. Every time I went to study, I would bring my textbook with me, and I would bring my notes with me. But I didn't really understand the material. So oftentimes I would just be copying problems from my notes to my textbook, and then back to my notes, and I wasn't actually learning anything. So my advice to you is if you're trying to study something, make sure you actually understand it. Make sure you understand the main concepts before you start memorizing facts and figures. And the way that you do this is by actively engaging with the material. So for example, instead of highlighting your notes, try rewriting your notes. By rewriting your notes, you're actively engaging with the material. You're not just passively reading it, you're actually taking the time to process it and think about it. So the next time you sit down to study, ask yourself, do I actually understand this material? If the answer is no, then don't spend time memorizing stuff. Spend time trying to understand the material. Tip number 8 is to reward yourself. This is a tip that I learned from a book called Make Time. And basically what this means is that whenever you finish a task, reward yourself with something that you enjoy. So for example, let's say you want to study for 1 hour, but you don't feel like doing it. Well, you can make a deal with yourself where you say, you know what, I'm gonna study for 30 minutes, and if I study for 30 minutes, I'm gonna reward myself with 30 minutes of Netflix. And guess what? Chances are you lines probably end up studying for longer than 30 minutes because you lines get into the mindset of studying and you lines actually enjoy studying. Because studying isn't something that you're dreading. Studying isn't something that you're putting off. It's something that you're actually looking forward to because you know that after studying, you're gonna be rewarded with something that you enjoy. And that's it. Those are my tips on how to start studying in just 5 minutes even when you don't want to. Remember, the key is to first find your why. Why do you want to learn this material? What are you hoping to accomplish? And then once you have that clear, it's easier to start studying. You lines find yourself being more motivated and more excited to start studying because you know why you're redoing it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it, and I line see you guys in the next video. Bye.